We looked at radio convertibles in another video. Radios that docked to a matching larger speaker for home use. Today I've found a whole new way to waste your time. Yes, along similar lines as those radio convertibles are these remote speakers. These weren't part of a set, like a convertible, mated to a particular radio. These were made for use with any radio. Some of these were made by companies that also produced transistor radios, and some were made by opportunists just trying to get in on the action. Bluetooth, they are not. They are physically plugged in to your radio, and your range is exactly the same as the length of your wire. Today's Bluetooth speakers are indeed the descendants of these extension speakers, and would call them Grandpa if they ever came around to say hello or anything. Kids these days. These kinds of extension speakers were just speakers. They didn't have amplifiers in them, and they didn't plug into house current or use batteries. The folks at Zephyr gave us this one. Yes, it's that Zephyr from Eastern Associates in San Francisco. The folks who never wrote their logo the same way twice. It's a plastic box with one of those fiberboard backs on it. Is that right? Fiberboard? I've taken to rejecting the various euphemisms used to describe things of varying and indeterminate origin. Now I just call them all wiki-wacky. The Zephyr speaker box contains a 4-inch speaker, the typical speaker for a table radio in that day. That day being the 1950s and 60s. This speaker box's day, to narrow things down, would have been 1960 or 61. And here's another radio brand, Candle, and their little speaker box. It's a handsome plastic box with this sort of fluting on the side. The back is metal and has 3 holes near the top of it for hanging the speaker box on a wall. You could use the middle one or the outer 2. You didn't need all 3. The thing's not that heavy. Tokyo Transistor Industry Company Limited. Those are the people who gave us the Candle radios, of course, and were an OEM for other brands, producing some Universal, Lloyd's, Omegas, and Hilton radios. Channel Master. Oh, this one's nice. Sanyo was the maker of Channel Master radios in this era, and this is almost certainly their work. It's a stylish thing, that's for sure. Not that the Channel Master people couldn't make stylish things themselves here in the U.S. Have a look at this indoor antenna of theirs from 1956, which they called the Showman. Wow! Now that's some mid-century design. But back on our extension speaker, and I do mean back, covering that back here, we see more of that wiki-wacky. And inside there's a 4-inch speaker. Perhaps the most popular of these extension speakers is this tubular-shaped model, which usually had a speaker on both ends of it. Nobody ever brought up what having the speakers facing opposite directions might mean for the phasing of the 2 speakers. There probably wasn't enough bass to worry about it. Who am I kidding? What bass? These tubular extension speakers were put out under several different brand names. This standard speaker box is made of wood and contains the standard 4-inch speaker. As we've noted elsewhere, Standard was a quality outfit. They made the tiny micronic Ruby micro radios, and in the 1960s and 70s, Standard made the highly regarded Marantz stereo gear. So they knew what they were doing, and always did it with class. This speaker box has a recessed collapsible handle for portability on the go while retaining a sleek, finished look in the living room. The Champtone Hi-Fi loudspeaker in this little box would of course be neither high nor fi, nor probably even loud. But who's counting? It has instructions for how to use its master socket to get a stereo effect. This is the dime store version of an extension speaker, and is the cheapest of the lot we're looking at today. It says on the front, fits every 6, 8, 10, 12 transistor radio. So apparently that's only the even numbers. Don't come at this with a 7 transistor. Inside, the speaker is not terribly bigger than the speaker in the radio you'd plug into it, but it's got a pretty hefty magnet for such a little thing, and I suppose that helps. You'll get big hi-fi sound from your transistor radio with this walled Tune Toter portable hi-fi speaker. Oh, yes, you will. For big hi-fi sound at beaches, picnics, dances, etc. Inside is a high-fidelity 10-watt speaker, or so says the box. This 10-watt business sounds impressive, but it's a pretty meaningless number when using it with a transistor radio, which can only put out a small fraction of that. The extension speaker was a great first project for the budding electronics experimenter. Here's mine, built when I was 9 or 10 years old. That's it in the back and to the left of my little desk. As we've seen with these boxes, it's just a speaker in there. I remember it was pretty easy in those days to get a nice 4-incher for free out of an old table radio. You had to build some kind of cabinet and decide whether to string a wire out of the box or use a jack. As you can see, the little mad scientist who made this installed 4 jacks. As simple as it was, it still felt like a kind of magic to plug it in and hear something you concocted come to life. As with all the extension speakers we've looked at today, my little speaker didn't plug into the wall or use batteries. But my reputation in the household being what it was, my mother was still quite sure I was somehow going to burn the house down with that thing.